The time to fight back is now.
A lot of Americans, for a good reason, are feeling a little aimless right now. A lot of pent-up frustration around what the Trump administration is doing, and the Democratic Party isn't doing a whole lot to fight back against it. Cue Bernie Sanders, who held several events over the weekend for good reason. I'll get to what that reason is. But massive crowd showed, which I gotta say is, for me, not surprising because it's Bernie Sanders, but typically we're holding events outside of a campaign, outside of a primary, there's no election going on, and having this many people show up is wild. But before I get to a couple of clips and why Bernie is doing this and his attempt to organize voters, I want to remind you, in case you forgot, or maybe you never saw this, this is an incredible map. This is from 2019, going into the 2020 primary, candidates with the most individual donors. Bernie Sanders, this map comes up every now and then on social media. People bring it back up because it shows you so much. Bernie Sanders with support all across the country. This was the energy that he's able to continue harnessing because he continues being one of the few people that is truly in the opposition to the Republican Party. He's an independent senator fighting for what's right, is willing to criticize the complete failure of the Democratic Party to fight back against both Trump and the oligarchy. And he's able, and I think best poised, to go with this message. So before I get to the first clip, this is the environment of where this is all taking place and why people are feeling a certain way. Trump has tapped an unprecedented 13 billionaires for his administration. So I will link to the source below the video in case you want to go through all 13. But this gets to people's feelings right now around the economy. Here is Harry Enton on CNN.
Rutrow, the reboot not as well received as the original. Economy is currently good or excellent. Look at this. In April of 2017, it was 40%. Look at where we are in February of 2025, just half that level. 20%. My goodness gracious. The term one high was 63% of Americans in February of 2020 thought the economy was excellent or good. This 20% we have currently going on right now is fewer Americans saying the economy is excellent or good than at any point during Trump's first term. This is not a good sign, Kate Baldwin.
J.D. Vance said last week, you got to give them time, even though that's not what they promised in the campaign. They said they bring prices down day one. But what is the view of the future economy then? Yeah, so this is the current economy. How about the future economy? Is the economy getting worse or better? And all I can say is yikes. Yikes. Again, compare it to where we were in the first term at this point, April of 2017, 53%. The majority said it was getting better. How about now in February of 2025? The majority say it's getting worse. 59% compared to just 35% who say it's getting better. Worse is higher now than at any point in Trump's first term pre-COVID. This number, to me, is much more worrisome. It's perhaps the worst number I've seen for Trump on the economy because it says even if the economy now isn't great, they also project that it's only going to get worse from here. This is a big, big yikes.
So the majority of Americans believe that the economy is terrible and that it's only going to continue getting worse under Donald Trump. But maybe they haven't seen that Trump's billionaire cabinet represents the top 0.0001%. These people have your best interests at heart. So people should be confident in the economy and it working for them if their name is Elon Musk. So the collective net worth of Trump's top appointees is reportedly estimated to exceed $460 billion, including Elon Musk's $400 billion net worth. Even without Musk, Trump's cabinet and top appointees in 2025 by far exceeds the wealth of previous cabinets, including his previous cabinet and previous record holder, which was worth $3.2 billion. President Biden's cabinet collectively was worth $118 million. So I want to be clear. This is still an issue. But there's a massive difference here between the level of billionaires that are in Trump's cabinet and the multimillionaires in a Democratic cabinet. Both are still wrong. There should be more representation of the working class, of unions, union leaders, should really be the ones leading the charge. But like, it's beyond terrible what Trump and his cabinet are doing. That's where Bernie Sanders comes in. So this is his fighting oligarchy tour. Where we go from here. So he went to Omaha, Nebraska, Iowa City, Iowa. I'll get to a clip in a second, but here are some images. He said on Twitter here, I want to thank the overflow crowds who came out in Iowa City to stand up to Trumpism. Together we must say no to oligarchy, no to authoritarianism, no to massive cuts in Medicaid, and no to huge tax breaks for billionaires. Check out this crowd. And then the overflow crowd, which is a little wild. That there is even an overflow crowd. So let me get to a clip. This one is from Nebraska, but I'm going to get some more data around just how crazy these crowds were in a second.
Trumpism will not be defeated by politicians inside the D.C. Beltway. That is not going to happen. It will be defeated by millions of Americans in Nebraska, in Iowa, in Vermont, and all over this country. Who come together at the grassroots level like we are doing tonight in a movement which says no to oligarchy, no to authoritarianism, no to kleptocracy, no to massive cuts in programs that the working class desperately needs, and no to huge tax breaks for the billionaires and the 1%.
So you see there, Bernie acknowledges that this is not going to be stopped by people within Congress, but it will be stopped by a movement of regular people who stand together. And he goes on, as I'll get to later, to sort of give an idea or discuss an avenue for where at least these people should go. And you can, as I'll discuss later, you can kind of see what he's trying to help create. But Faz Shakir, who has worked with Bernie for years, says this is a first in many ways. We had two different large flow crowds in Iowa City. One of those overflows was so large that it was bigger than the original theater he came to speak at. So, again, I know I'm harping on these crowds, but it's not an election. There's not a primary going on. This is just people coming together that want to see Bernie Sanders, but there is this desire, this pent-up energy that people are trying to find a place to put. And this is potentially the start of where that energy can go. So Craig Phelps on Twitter writes, Bernie Sanders in Iowa City is the most searched term in Iowa over the past 48 hours. In the past 7 days, people in Nebraska, Alaska, and Wyoming round out the top 5 regions searching oligarchy. So this is a video from Omaha, Nebraska of Bernie coming out, and check out the energy here. So they were originally going to be in a union hall, and then so many people signed up to come to this that they had to change venues. Now, Warren Gunnels, who also has worked with Bernie for years and years, writes here, what's amazing to me is Bernie did this after a marathon session in the Senate that began at 7:11 p.m. on Thursday and ended at 4:37 a.m. on Friday, voting on over 25 amendments during that time, getting home at 5:15 a.m. and taking a 1 p.m. flight to Omaha to give this speech at 6:30 p.m. I continue to be shocked at how Bernie Sanders is able to find this energy. I, put a video together in a day and I'm exhausted. Now, I also have a young child. That's part of it. But Bernie is, I don't know where he's able to get this energy from, especially at his age. But like, no one at any age can usually operate this way. It is just wild. I hope he's also taking care of his health. Like, let's not, don't push yourself too hard, Bernie. Make sure you're eating well and eventually getting the sleep you need, because you can't keep operating this way. But it shows you how much he cares about this. In these times, writing here, Trump is already planning colossal tax giveaways to corporations and billionaires. So this gets to a big piece for why Bernie is giving these speeches. In Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the law delivered a tax cut for the richest 0.1% of Americans. That was 277 times larger than the one teachers and firefighters got, nearly doubling billionaire wealth in this country and spiking inequality. Meanwhile, corporations got a 40% discount on their taxes, which they used to send record stock buybacks to their wealthy shareholders and pad their profits while they overcharged consumers on everything from gas to groceries. And that worked so well for them that they plan to do this again. So Republicans plan to give the richest Americans a fresh round of individual tax breaks, slash the corporate tax rate yet again, and cut taxes on capital gains and dividends, which would let their Wall Street friends keep even more of their winnings when they sell a stock or are showered with dividends. I don't understand how empty you have to be as a person for this to drive you. Imagine already having all the money in the world, all the money you wouldn't be able to even spend it in a lifetime, in 100 million lifetimes, but you want to continue doing it again. You need more and more and more and more. While on the other side of that, budget cuts for programs that Americans who are nowhere near your sort of wealth and power and privilege, you want to cut programs that they need to survive. So, of course, including things like Medicaid and SNAP, which helps more than 42 million families afford the groceries. This gets to Bernie Sanders, why he's here, and what he wants voters, specifically in these areas, to do.
So what we got right now is Republican leadership, as we speak, are working on this bill. Massive tax breaks for the rich, paid for by cuts to Medicaid, education, housing, and the programs that working people need. Now, it turns out that in the House of Representatives, there is right now a reality where Republicans have a very, very slim majority. Republicans have, as I recall, 218 members. Democrats have 215. They have a 3-vote majority. That is not much. If 2 Republicans go to the Speaker of the House and say, Mr. Speaker, no way am I going to betray my constituents. No way am I going to make massive cuts in Medicaid and other programs to give tax breaks to billionaires. If 2 Republicans do it, that terrible bill is defeated. And what I am asking you to do is make sure that your congressman, Mr. Bacon, is one of those 2 Republicans.
All right, I'm almost going to get to the link in a second here, showing you where he wants a lot of these people to sign up. And there's something in there that I find interesting. But this is the point of these specific events, is to target these voters in these Republican districts to put pressure on their representatives. So one of them mentioned there was Bacon, Representative Bacon. The other is Representative Miller Meeks. And the intention is to ensure this bill doesn't go through. Now, they're going to have to contend with the fact that Charles Koch has launched a $20 million campaign backing Trump's tax breaks. So they're going to try and argue that this is actually good for people, that it's great to give even more money to massive corporations and billionaires and cut programs that that regular people are using. It's a great idea. So, and this is how they fool people for decades at this point. I mean, the amount of money and time through avenues like Fox News, AM radio, since, the 1980s, this is what has slowly turned conservatives into these complete lunatics who have a hard time even understanding what reality is, because they have been so conditioned to believe this trash that at some point, these billionaires are going to help us. And oh yeah, it's the Democrats that are the elites. Only them, not the billionaire cabinet that Trump has. It is just insane. But these are the two links that Trump goes on to mention in his speeches. So the one for Omaha, it's berniesanders.com/Nebraska, and he encourages you to call your representative. But something worth mentioning here as well. I will attend an organized training. I will host a meeting house party. There's an attempt here to not just put pressure on representatives, but also try and build some sort of organizing apparatus, at least specifically in these areas. And I'm sure he's going to have, more speeches in other districts. And there seems to be an attempt here to try and really organize people in these areas. And how he's going to, maybe utilize that in the future in some way, it remains to be seen. But this is the start. Knowing who your neighbors are, organizing with them, understand that there is a collective goal here. And this is how eventually the people win. It takes time. It takes organizing. It takes people power. But it can eventually happen. And here is the other link, the one for Iowa. This one, berniesanders.com/Iowa. So same thing here, but just different representatives. Very interesting start here. So I assume he's going to continue this. Bernie Sanders is one of the few people in Congress who's able to, I say few people, I think the only person really, that is able to get these sorts of crowds for an event that isn't a campaign or a primary event. Like, it is wild to see these crowds. So it's good to see him utilizing his power in a way that organizes people and isn't just about, a vote. And I can't wait to see potentially where this all goes.